Good morning. Welcome to SOGCast number 42. This production of SOGCast is brought to you courtesy of Jocko Productions and his technical staff, with Carrie Helton joining us today. My name is John Stryker Meyer. I'll be your host today, and this is part of our ongoing series of interviews for SOGCast about the secret war in Vietnam. Today I have the honor of introducing not only a good friend, but just one fine recon man, Tony Bandiera Jr. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. My honor indeed, sir. And as with our stories about SOG, there's always a beginning. What was your beginning? Where did you grow up first? And how did you get to that point where someday I want to join the Army?
Well, truth is, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, basically, and a little bit in the panhandle of Texas before that. But I didn't want to go in the Army. My father and I, when I was a senior in high school, he was always showing me a newspaper about what was going on in Vietnam.
Right.
And that was the last place I wanted to be.
Naturally.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I have two cousins and a good friend, and they hounded me to say, let's go in the Army and be paratroopers. And I said, there's no way in the hell I'm going to jump out of an airplane. That's just not going to happen. So they had back then the buddy listed as the buddy program. You go in and stay with it. So we immediately went in, and the first person that didn't get to be part of the buddy system was me. And so I went off, and then I went to jump school, and from jump school to the 82nd. And from the 82nd, I was assigned to, I think, the beginning of January 66. I was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division.
Oh.
And to me, it was kind of an honor to say I get to be a Screaming Eagle one day. I get to wear the patch.
Absolutely, because by that time, the movie The Longest Day had come out.
Exactly. And during that time when we got to Camp Alpha, there was the first Cav took a terrible beating in Alshal Valley. And
can we do a time frame on that, please? Like what year, what time?
That happened I think the end of 64, the battle.
We had the Battle of Ai Drang Valley.
Ai Drang Valley is what I meant.
That was 65. Yes,
right.
Sir. That's okay. That's why I get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, well, I told you I had a bad memory.
No, this is
in
good
Ai Drang
stuff.
Valley.
Yes, sir.
So they took a terrible beating, and they came over to a group of us that flew in together from the United States to tell us that we're changing your orders. You can go straight to the first Cav. It was an immediate letdown for all of us to think we had to go to the Cav, not to be part of the 101st.
Sure.
Because of the great history of the 101st. So anyway, we, being military guys, we did what we were told and got assigned to different units when we got to the Cav. And it was a surprisingly good experience for me. I was very excited to feel relieved and acclimated pretty quick, and I was scared to death many times when we'd go out. I'd go out as an engineer with some of the infantry teams from 1st to the 9th. And they had a great helicopter assault team unit, which was called the 1st to the 9th of the 1st Cav. And it was really nice to serve with those guys. It was, to me, like a next level. And that was the only, I think the 1st Brigade of the 1st Cav was only airborne. Most of everybody's airborne. And that's what I wanted to be, to make sure I could stay part of that.
So the Ai Drang Valley battle was November of 65, so you got there in January of 66.
Correct.
Okay, and then they still had some god-awful combat.
Yes.
Because that AO, I don't know if the intel knew it or not, but that was a major base for the NVA of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the exact nomenclature, but there were a whole lot of those commie dogs there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the first battles were with that they made the movie from. We Were Soldiers Once We Were Young.
Right.
And that's just a phenomenal, relatively accurate movie.
The movie was phenomenal. It was accurate. It depicted some very sad things, how really unprepared those guys were going into. Most of it was their first time out.
Absolutely, and they didn't know what the intel about the NVA,
had no clue.
Strength. Yeah,
they had no clue. And to the NVA, later to find out, to them it was a picnic. They were thrilled. It was the first time anybody entered their valley. They were like green soldiers. So they inflicted many casualties, which is pretty sad for the U.S. Army, for the Cav. And we moved in and out to the valley a little bit from time to time, after, of course, and because there was a huge lesson learned about insertions, approaches, and had better intel, which is, of course, we know is the most important thing to have.
Absolutely.
And so then after a while, they transferred me to S2, engineer battalion. And then from there, they took me with a young captain over to Bong Song to an A team. And that was my first true introduction to Special Forces. And we were there almost 3 months. And in those 3 months, I felt like I was in a total different world. And I was. There was no sergeant this, major that, captain this, whatever. It was, when I first got there, I called everybody by the sergeant, whatever the name was. And the very first thing I got was a lesson is, don't call me. My name's Bill, my name's Jim, my name's John.
Yeah.
Call me by my first name. So I was immediately at ease, totally at ease.
Sure.
And the first couple of weeks went by, and I was watching the teams take out their indige to do night recon and night patrols. And they came back one day, and the next day they said, "Why don't you come and go with us?" And I said, "Hell no, I'm going to stay where I'm safe in camp." So, long story short, of course, they ultimately talked me into it. I had to find out what it was like. And when I found out what it was like, I really enjoyed it. I felt safe. I felt like I was I felt like I was protected no matter what. And
saw a lot better planning there.
It was a different world, like I said. I mean, I went from, I don't want to say it like this, but from the B team to a total A team. It was ridiculous how well informed they were. So
before we go too far into that, when you were in those early months, were you going in with teams from the first Cav into targets? And if you did, what was your MOS at that point?
No, it's a 12B.
Oh, 12B, artillery?
No.
Mortars?
No, not engineer back then.
12B?
12B,
okay.
Was engineer. And infantryman back then was 11B.
Yeah.
And then Special Forces, weapons man, of course,
sure.
11B, 4PS.
Right.
They have all kind of different, and they changed over a period of time, as you're well aware. So, no, I would go out with different platoons, whichever I was assigned to at the time, depending on the nature of the mission, nature of the patrol, whatever they had to do that required an engineer, then I was brought along.
You carried a lot of claymores?
I carried a few. So, not a lot, but I carried 2, to be honest with you.
Yes.
So, I ran those for a while and came back, and like I said, they put me in S2, and S2, everything kind of slowed down quite a bit for me.
So S2 in the military is the intel branch.
Right, and I enjoyed that. So from there, then it was over to Bong Song, and I truly, truly enjoyed that. That was, I want to say that's where the catalyst of what stuck with me to make me always consider, if I wanted to stay in the military, to go into Special Forces. But I still had this aching desire to be a helicopter pilot. And when I was a few months before ETS at Bragg in the 82nd, recruiter came over and asked me, he said, "You have to leave in a few months, but we'd like for you to stay. Is there anything special?"
So this is after Vietnam now?
Yeah, this is after my first tour.
Okay.
So I said, "No, I think it's time for me to go home." He said, "Anything at all?" I said, "I want to be a helicopter pilot." He said, "Okay." So I took the battery test and went to take the physical. And I was in truly good condition. I failed the physical. It was an eye physical that I failed. If you had an astigmatism, you weren't accepted. Of course, 6 months later, they changed that.
Of course.
So, but by 6 months later, I was already deep into Special Forces training. He didn't talk me into it. I asked him, since he told me I failed it, he says, "Is there anything else?" I said, "Special Forces." And he hesitated. He said, that's pretty serious. Well, I said, well, okay, I'll go home. He said, well, we'll have you take the test. And I took the test. And he called me up about 2 weeks later, and I thought I was going to be going home. He said, Sergeant Bandiera, I've got good news for you. He said, well, I got bad news too. Good news is you've been accepted, but you have to start in 2 weeks. So you can't go home for your 30 days. And I said, well, it was great. I didn't need to go home. I was happy to hear that. And from there, I went into training group. Training group was amazing. It was really amazing. And then I'm sure you remember your days through training group. But probably one of the most important things that I got out of that was the quality of instruction. The instructors we had were amazing. It wasn't like going through basic training, AIT, or any other part of the regular Army schools. And as I was going through, I was enjoying it. I wanted to be a weapons man, so of course I was taking weapons courses. And I think the one course that really kind of stumped a lot of people, and it killed me, was the compass course, the land
navigation.
Oh my God, I did everything else great. And so when it came close to take our final test, and I went over and talked to the NCO in charge, and I told him, I said, I don't think I'm going to make it. He said, why not? He said, he looked at my record. He said, you're good. He said, you're good to go. I said, no, I don't understand this. I really don't. So he told me, he said, for the next few days, you'll come and see me at a certain time at a certain place, and I'm going to tutor you. Well, okay.
Sure.
Went, and in any other part of the military, that would never happen.
No. And
if it wasn't for him, I would have never made it through. But by the time we were through with the tutoring, I understood it very well.
So this is at the end of 67 or early 68? Because by now you're in the MOS training.
No,
you're still phase one.
No, I was finished. We were in...
For land nav.
Right. And we were going to... What was next for me was phase 3. So we had 1, 2, and 3. And so after 3, I think we finished... I'm trying to remember. Pretty sad when you can't remember when you graduate from group. But I think it was August of 67. Somewhere around there.
Okay. Because when you graduated, then you went to which group?
Well, as soon as I graduated, I didn't go to a group.
Right.
So
that's what I mean.
The group. So I got orders to go to the 5th, and I got a little bit of leave time, like 10 days. So I went home with 10 days and came back and got over to
When you fly into Cameron Bay?
Cameron Bay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So in Cameron, when we were offloading and they brought all of us over to a certain tent, they had a clipboard, and this NCO, or the second lieutenant, said, I need these names to go over here, then I need the rest of you to go over there. Well, I was in the short list, and so they took 6 of us out of, I think, about 25, 30 maybe. And from there, they said, you're going to go to CNC North, CNC South, CNC Central.
Oh, no kidding.
And I had no clue what CNC meant.
Sure.
I didn't even know what I was in for.
And you didn't have any in-country training. Did you land in Vietnam? They're there to greet you like that.
Just like that. But wow. I had the prior service, of course, because of the first CAF. So I'd already been in country. I knew all that. I had no clue about what I was going to do. I thought I was going to an A-team.
Sure. That's what we all thought when we left training group.
Exactly. I mean, that's what we wanted, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know first damn thing about what SOG was, what it meant, anything. So they gave us a really quick class and quick, short explanations, which didn't mean anything. But when we finally got over to, 2 of us ended up going over to being picked up in the airport. No, actually, they flew us in really close in a helicopter over to
Da Nang?
Into Da Nang. And from Da Nang, we were picked up.
So you never got the in-country training for the regular SF then?
No.
No kidding?
No.
Of course, you were a seasoned vet by that time.
But,
you had a tour of duty under your belt.
And, to be honest with you, that had a lot to do with the bearing of how well I was treated going through group, because I was already an NCO and I already had prior training, and, I was alert and aware of what. And you had
your first CAV combat patch on your right arm. That had a lot of weight back then. Absolutely.
And I got to put my airborne tab above
Indeed.
my patch. That meant a lot to me. It's funny how, when we were young, how important that airborne tab is.
Oh, yeah.
But then later on, you realize that airborne tab's great, but there's nothing like a Special Forces tab for us.
No, that's true. But the other tab gets you $55 a month.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of money back then.
That was huge. I got $68 a month when I first went in.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So anyway, we got over to the compound, and Colonel Welch was there to introduce himself to the new people coming in.
Colonel Warren.
No, Jack Warren. Forgive me.
Jack Warren. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, Colonel Jack Warren. What a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
What a wonderful man. The kind of SF officer that you kind of would really want to serve with.
He truly cared about his men, and he knew it really quick.
I think he went to the officers' club a couple of times. He lived in the NCO club. He caused more fights, more crap than anybody else in the club. But he was, to us, was an icon.
And so when you come in, do you get the briefing first? We sign your NDA and all that?
Yes.
And that all happened at Da Nang? Or over they still had the CNC compound near the air base first? Some of us went there first, and then in your case, because you're assigned FOB 4, which was Da Nang.
It was Da Nang. So,
and that's where you met Colonel Warren, or did you meet him at the briefing?
No, met him at the briefing when we got into to the camp.
Sure.
So when we pulled into the camp and we went, they told us to take a break for a little while. We took a break and just looked around. And you know what it was like if you're at the back where the hooches were. You have the South China Sea, beautiful blue sea, and you think, God, this is going to be paradise.
And maybe one strand of barbed wire, maybe.
yeah, maybe one strand of barbed wire.
So for our listeners, at FOB 4, it was South Da Nang up against Marble Mountain.
Yes.
And when you came into the base, there was the helicopter pad, then there was your headquarters. As you went down, heading east towards the South China Sea.
Right.
Went past the club, mess hall.
Yeah.
And then there was Recon Company.
And the urinal, don't forget that.
Indeed, there's a couple more than one.
Yeah.
And then you came down to the beach, and the security was a little thin back then.
I never noticed any.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so this is 68 now.
This is 68.
Clearly. So you're there, you get, so talk about the briefing with Jack Warren, because that's always that moment in time. You get your top secret briefing, welcome to the Secret War briefing.
Yeah, I thought, well, I think they've got the wrong person, and I think they didn't really mean to call my name out to be here. You tell them all these things that they do and how classified they are and how there's a certain deniability and plausible deniability about this and that. And we couldn't discuss with anybody. We couldn't discuss with any superior officer to us.
Or your mom or your girlfriend.
The family, nobody.
Yeah.
That was just how it was. You know very well how important that was. So that meant a lot to me to realize that. I don't know how the FBI cleared me for a clearance, but they did. And I was still a kid, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was young, and I felt physically in great shape. I was ready for everything. I prepared myself in advance. And having that first tour meant a ton to me when I was there. So after that briefing and how they laid out what the missions could be and the variety of missions that existed.
And you saw a map that says Vietnam, and then there's Laos with all the target boxes.
Yeah, when you see that map, you're sitting and trying to figure out, what's that for? Why do they have all those zeros and squares and all
WTF.
They had the code names to each one of these missions, these 10 square miles that we would operate in. So it was pretty exciting. I mean, I still felt really out of place. I don't know why. I didn't I didn't feel like I fit in or was going to be good enough to be able to live up to these guys. But it didn't take me long to look around and realize that we were all the same age. We all had the same training. And what was important was the leadership inside the compound. What was important was each other, how everybody covered each other's back, and how much we learned from each other.
We learned more from the clubhouse than during the training.
We got more intel from Clubhouse and House 22.
Well, that too. So, and House 22 was a safe house, by the way, in Da Nang.
Yeah, it was definitely a safe house.
Yes.
So,
we'll let it be at that.
Yes, I will. So I began to feel more comfortable after I got to know a few people. And then I really got sort of close to Sergeant Major Charlie Vickers.
Oh, yeah.
And he was really a wonderful guy. And for some reason, odd reason, he took me in under his wing, and he would tell me certain things about some of the different players there, some of the different teams and operators. And he said, you really want to learn a lot, you stick to the guys that have been so many times in so many missions to talk to them. And I did. I picked everybody's brain. And, of course, when you get assigned a mission, the first thing you do is you really don't prepare the team. You go in to talk and study. We tell the team, of course, we're going to go. But you go in to talk, and you spend a lot of time there, and you read everything you can about your AO. And you,
if there's stuff in the intel folder.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that was kind of scary in some of them because there wasn't. But if there was, you could lean on the person who had been there before you.
You could ask around.
Right, if they were still alive. Or
Clubhouse intel.
That's where we got
Indeed.
it. And that stuff was very important.
Absolutely.
I mean, it meant a lot to the nature of our mission. And let us know where the little traps to look for, and what to look for, and different smells in different areas, and what certain smells meant.
And how you listened.
And being, I think most important one thing is, thank you for saying that, because I think what I learned from everybody was listening was the most vital instinct that you could have. If you were a good listener, you had a really, really good chance of surviving. If you listened to every little thing, when it hit the fan, you knew exactly what to do. You didn't have any doubts. You didn't have any questions. You just did it automatically.
Yeah, because once you're in the jungle, that jungle has its own life rhythm.
Exactly.
And when you stop, then the jungle rhythm comes back.
Exactly.
If it doesn't come back, be advised the shit's about to hit the fan.
That's right.
Indeed. So Charlie's talking to you, and at one point you get assigned to your first team. So by now we're talking the summer of '68.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I was assigned to RT-ASP.
Okay. And your 1-0 was?
It was Larry Trimble, one of the most wonderful human beings you'll ever meet, not to mention a fabulous soldier.
A.K.A. the Gambler.
Gambler.
And
exactly.
we do have a SOGcast interview with Larry. I
Coming
believe
up.
it's SOGcast number 5.
I got to listen to that.
Absolutely.
But Larry was, he was quiet, and he had a lot to say sometimes by not saying anything. If you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
So Larry, when we started getting acclimated to each other, and we ran a mission when we came back.
So your first mission was, Larry, was what kind of mission was it? Where, do you remember?
It was, we were looking at traffic on the Mekong Delta, or the Delta coming up from
south, on the western side of Laos.
Right, exactly.
You're that far out. Okay.
Yeah, so that was the first one. I think, I shouldn't say this, but I think we walked around the same place like 3 times before we realized, hey, I think we're lost. So
come back. He done a little more training with the navigation skills.
So we sat down and talked about it. And if it wasn't for our indige,
yeah,
which for everybody who loves their indige, every team loved their indige. If they didn't, they removed them. But for me, to be assigned to the only former North Vietnamese soldiers, it really made me nervous the first few missions.
Oh, sure.
So Larry said, just relax. Everything's going to be okay. And Larry said, relax. You just kind of relax without relaxing, of course.
Yes.
So then we had a super interpreter, Bobby Nugent Van Viet. And he and himself, if he talked to you, you met Bobby.
Right.
Yeah. When he talked to you, he would tell everybody that he was from New York. The incoming soldiers believed that he was from New York.
Yeah.
His English was impeccable. And he was an incredible interpreter. He was on the ground whenever I got injured, right next to Gene Pugh. Immediately, I mean, when I opened my eyes, the first two people I saw, the only two people I saw were those guys. So anyway, after we ran a few missions together, Larry had to return to the States for some reason. And then Colonel Warren came to me and said, Sergeant Bandiera said, you're replacing Sergeant Trimble. He's going back to the States. And I said, are you sure? I don't know if I'm ready for this. He said, Larry said, you're ready. Sergeant Trimble said, you're ready. So I got excited, but I was so nervous. I couldn't tell you. I was just really nervous. And I worked with the team. I sat down and talked to the team. I think one of the very, very most important things that I learned on the first mission with them was, okay, I have all the Special Forces training in my head. There's a certain part of going into an AO where you're either going to make it out or you're not. So, and that's where you hit the nail on the head when you said listening. It took me a while because there were several times I said, okay, I look at the map and I said, we're going to go set up here. We're going to go over to this direction. And so I turned around and I looked at the team and they looked at me like I had two heads. So, and I asked Bobby, I said, what's up? He said, they think we should go this way. I said, well, okay. And it really made me nervous.
Sure.
But I said, why? And so Ton, one of the really big guys I had, went over and pulled a piece of tree bark apart. And he pulled out a North Vietnamese cigarette butt. I had no clue. I would have never seen that. Being that he served, all of them served with the North Vietnamese, he knew everything.
No kidding.
At that point in time, I just thought, thank you, Lord. This is a team that I'm going to really depend on.
The Lord sent you a little bonus package.
I believe he did.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would have been equipped enough to not handle something like that.
Did he tell you what that was? The fact that there's a cigarette butt in...
It's one of the things that when they were on the move, if they had to hurry up and move out, do something, they had to snuff them out. So they would hide it.
Okay.
Just so Americans, if the Americans happen to come through, that they would never see it.
Right.
So, and I never saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue what to look for. And I had no reason to think about that. But after that, I had a reason to think about everything. Had a reason to listen to everything.
Sure.
So the team was amazing. I listened to them 100% of the time. And I think probably when Larry left, I was assigned Phil Quinn from the 1st Airborne Division. I mean, 1st SF and Okinawa came over. He and Bill Werther and a few other guys from the 1st.
Yeah, they came over TDY.
Yeah, TUI, exactly.
Snakebite teams.
So Phil was assigned to me, to RTS, not me. So we got to know each other, and I really felt comfortable with Phil. You know, being in the field, for me, a really big guy kind of made me nervous because I'm a little guy. I can hide behind anything. I don't know.
You're right down there within the ditch.
Exactly. There was no difference between me and the enemy. So Phil was pretty good size guy.
Yeah.
But he was amazing. He was a great soldier, and during that time, we just came back from a mission, and we had to be extracted by strings. And then when we came out, I think sometimes it's hard for someone to imagine if you've never come out on ropes before, what it's like.
Yeah. So what we're talking about here is you're in contact with the enemy, and you have to get out. You call for an extraction. The helicopters can't land, so they come and hover, drop 150-foot ropes. And by that time, did they have the McGuire rig? It was just still the straight rope with a sandbag, and you clicked in with your Swiss seat.
Everybody had their own rope. You know how to make it like this. Here, you pull it between your legs, take your D-ring, hook up.
Swiss seat.
Swiss seat.
Oh, yeah.
And when they drop the lines, then you know very well yourself, if you have two helicopters coming in, when you begin your mission, you're the first man to hit the ground, no matter what.
Right.
Being a 1-0, that's your responsibility. And on the way out, our responsibility was what?
Last man.
Last man. So when the first helicopter came in, I hooked my guys up to it, and then the second one came in, and I was the last one to hook up, and I was on the bottom of the string. And the crew chief looked out, and I gave him a thumbs up. They took off. Well, I don't know if people realize this or remember this, but a Huey, once he's hovering and he gets up high enough, he wants to take off. He dips the nose,
right,
and then he comes up like that. And that's how it was. Well, he dipped me about 6 feet into the jungle.
Oh.
He dragged me through the jungle, and I was upside down holding onto my weapon, my rucksack, and I had a vine around my neck. And I thought, okay, it's either going to pop, my neck's going to break, or I'm going to get out of this somehow. Well, I got out of it somehow. I didn't do anything, but it just flipped me around. And when it flipped me around, he brought me out of the jungle, and then I flipped back around. So I was feet down this time, not heads down. And I was hanging on to everything. And they were flying us up about, 5,000 feet normally.
Right. And of course, all this is while you're under enemy fire.
Yes.
The enemy's shooting at you and the helicopters.
And the biggest worry sometimes is like, not the biggest worry. The biggest worry for me was I didn't think they were going to hit us. I'm afraid they hit the helicopter.
Right.
Because that's the biggest target that they have. Trying to shoot a little guy swinging under a rope, you're not that good.
But sometimes it felt like the green tracers are going right between my legs. I was worried about my manhood.
Well, I'm lucky I never had that issue about worrying about it. They didn't even get that close. I went right by my ear, and I thought I was going to lose my ears a couple of times.
Oh, my God.
And that pop, when that AK-47 round comes over your head, it's like a firecracker.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So, and they were whizzing by. And anyway, we got up high enough, and we were headed to, I had no idea where we were going. And so they took us into Ben Het. Ben Het was right on the border between Laos, Cambodia, and that was the number one A-team, the number one hit A-team at the time.
Right.
So when
that's down in 2 Corps, by the way. So
yes,
you guys are really deep.
Yep.
Did you launch out of FB2 at the time?
No. We launched out of Quang Tri, I think.
Okay, sure.
So, but anyway, just try and get, you know how it is. If you call in for prairie fire emergency, and they say,
you're just glad to get out. Just get me the hell out, and we don't care where you take me.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't care who comes in as long as you get us out. So we had no clue where we were going. And when we were making our approach, the first helicopter was already there. And I was, of course, from a long distance, I was trying to see what I could see. And I could see that there was nobody in the base. In the perimeter, I could barely recognize M60 placement set up and a few men here and there. Not Americans, indig. And maybe 1 or 2, I don't know. But I noticed that they would run out of a bunker. They would grab the guys and help them down, unhook them, and drag them into a bunker. And, you know, when you fly for a long time in a Swiss seat, everything goes dead.
Yeah, your circulation's cut off.
You can't feel anything. You can't feel your legs. And I was, for a while, beating my boots together to try to keep some circulation going.
Yeah.
So ultimately, excuse me, it went. There's nothing I could do. But when they flew over, this is a part of being a Green Beret that is exciting. That no matter where you serve, no matter what team you're on, no matter what part of Vietnam you came from, or what your mission is, they run right out and they'll help you. They'll save you. They'll do whatever's necessary to make sure you stay alive. So when we got off, we got unhooked. Of course, me being the last one, I was the first one.
And you couldn't walk?
No, I couldn't walk at all.
Yeah.
I was just like sitting there. And this big E7 grabbed me here and dragged me into the bunker. And
he goes, "Welcome to Ben Het."
He said,
"Oh my God!
Keep your head down. Don't stick it out until we tell you to."
Yeah.
And he said, "Get your legs. Once you get your legs, let me know." So we sat in there and drank a ton of water. I think the little things that people don't really realize. When you're on the ground, you're completely soaking wet with sweat. Completely. I mean, head to toe.
Sure.
Your boots are even wet.
Yeah.
But when they extract you and you're 5,000 feet in the air,
then you're freezing.
I thought I was going to die of frostbite. It was so cold. And then, of course, they took us up and got us out, and it was the next day before they could get a couple ships in, or one ship in.
And again, we're talking about Ben Het, which was one of the most active A camps in terms of being under siege for months.
Yes.
And we even had teams that came out of FOB2 that did some missions in support of the A camp there, try to get intel reports, to try to get a POW for more intel. And they even went to different weapon sites that had the anti-aircraft sites. And that was part of, and so you go into an A camp that's under siege.
And it's not your average A camp.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
But that was the thing that you just mentioned, that if you got a prisoner snatch mission, that would have been my place I would like to go and start from there. Pick their brains for a long time, get as much intel as I could, and be able to launch.
You just really wanted that 5-day R&R and $100 bonus. Come on, you can't kid me.
I was working at it. It didn't work all the time. So
you and me both.
Well, we never gave up trying, did we?
No.
So from there, we finally get back to stand down. We'd stand down, which is it was like heaven. Get back to.
And what was that? Do you remember what that mission was? What it was for?
Yeah, we were. That was the same thing. This one was to watch military vehicles coming down
the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Down the Ho Chi Minh Trail. So we set up a long time, and you got this little ASCII Pentax camera, and you take 9 million pictures. And along the way, we discovered a little training facility, and it was for them to, it was more for the Viet Cong working in that area.
Or the NVA.
Pathet
Sure.
Or the NVA working with them, and they had just dismantled it. And so I was in a hurry to get out of there because we had already seen movement, and we've seen the movement. We knew it was coming our way.
So you've been on the ground for a few days by now?
Been on the ground for 4 days.
Okay.
And it was time to get out.
Yeah.
So we moved as quickly as we could to as safe areas we could find. We tried to get some high ground. And once we got mid-high ground, and we got, on one side we got compromised. So we were taking enemy fire, and from that we determined that it was just a roving patrol, because we were able to just keep our heads down, slide around, and then set up a couple guys, had Quinn move the team up, and a couple came down a trail. Well, we had no choice. We eliminated our trackers, so to speak.
Yeah.
So once we eliminated them, then we joined the team really quick, and we moved out. And then I got word that the slicks were coming in to pick us up. So, and finally the pilot, you know how it is, they contact you, and you're talking to the pilot, and he said, "What color smoke do you have?" And I told him, I said, "I have red and yellow." He said, "Pop red smoke." And I said, "Okay." Normally I would pop, we had red, yellow, and green. And he asked me, he said, "Do you have green?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Well, pop the red." So I did, and they spotted us. He said, "I got you." And they swooped down, picked us up, and took me through a ride through the jungle. And
Ricochet, pinball baton.
Exactly.
It's a human pinball.
get back to base camp, get
Yes,
back
sir.
to the camp, and they tell me now they're going to sign a 1-2, which was Gene Pugh. I said, okay. So somebody brought Gene over to introduce him to me. He brought him over and said, I want you to meet Tony Bandiera, your 1-0. And he said, Tony, Gene's going to join the team. I said, okay. And Gene looked at me really funny, and so we spoke a while. We got acclimated. Until we get acclimated the next day, I was tired. The next day, Gene came over to me and said, you know, I almost asked them for another team when I saw your face. I had 2 black eyes, had a rope burn about 2 inches thick around my neck.
Right,
it was bloody and raw. And he said, I didn't know if I wanted to run any missions with you. But thank God he did.
Yeah.
Gene's a fabulous soldier.
So he joined you and Phil then?
He did.
3rd American. Did he become your RTO then?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was his MOS.
Sure.
So, and we ran some missions together, and we had this really unusual mission where they sent us to Thailand, to an Air Force base in Thailand, to where we would be briefed by an Air Force colonel, and he already knew the nature of our mission. We knew the nature of our mission. And for me, he kind of knew too much. And then the way we had it designed, we wanted to go, only wanted 1 helicopter to take us in. That's all.
And the reason why they did it, sometimes you had bad weather. You couldn't launch so they take helicopters from NKP, fly east, and insert you into the target area that way. Okay.
Exactly what it was. But he divided the team up.
What?
And I was really angry with him. And I said, no. I said, I'm not going to run a mission like this. I said, how can you take 7 men and put 3 here and 4 there? And on a Jolly Green Giant, we can all fit in that helicopter, no problem. Well, the fuel capacity with that weight load and the blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, I was still young and I was really getting angry. I had to really be careful about my tone. So after the second time he warned me about my tone, I shut up. And so the next morning we boarded the 2 helicopters, and the mission was so far, at the time, so I heard, and you can take what you hear with a grain of salt, when I heard that it was the most furthest northern mission, and we had to fly into Leghorn. Leghorn, are you familiar with Leghorn?
Oh, of course. And then sometimes they had, because when you launched from NKP, you had to refuel at the CIA fuel dumps.
That's Leghorn.
That may not have been Leghorn, because the reason why I can tell you that is we did it, and
Same
we
thing.
landed the same thing, and we were en route to a target, but it took over 2 hours, and they landed for a refuel. And
Exactly what happened to us.
I said, who are you? He says, I'm not here. He says, just like you're not here. And that was the way. But it wasn't Leghorn, because Leghorn was too close to the tri-border area.
We went into Leghorn.
They had refuel there?
Yep, they did.
Oh, my God. Okay.
We went into Leghorn. A funny story that back in Dallas 100 years later, I run into a guy's name, Bob Singleton. He was the CIA at that Leghorn.
No.
Yeah, in a small world. Anyway, we went in, we refueled, and we were gone, took off. And we had, of course, as you're aware, you have a primary and an alternate target, LZ. So when we flew over the LZ, which you can't see on the maps, you know how bad the maps could be. Well, the primary LZ was nothing but tree stumps, and there was no way you could set a helicopter down. And when I looked over, I looked at the pilot, and the pilot just looked at me, and he shook his head very softly. And I said, okay, abort this, we can go to the secondary. So when we get to the secondary, myself and Bobby, we saw a couple
Pathalau.
Pathalau,
Okay. Yeah.
And we knew that being so close, the NVA would have to be very close with them. So I aborted the mission. I hated to because the long distance, the time spent in putting that together was awful.
Sure.
But also was going to put my team in jeopardy.
Yeah, you're the 1-0.
No, so when I aborted the mission, the Covey had the second pilot drop the team in the LZ anyway.
No.
I was furious, and then I told the pilot, "You fly me over and set me down." Well, those two were getting ready to bank to go over there. There were like four more guys come out with their AK-47s. At a distance, we could see them very well. And their fear was, of course, they would have a rocket launcher. And I understood. He said, "Well, I can't. This is as close as I can get." And I took my car 15. I barely tapped his helmet. I said, "No, you've got to put me over here." So
gentle persuasion.
Well, I didn't. I couldn't reach him. So, and I kept yelling at him. No one heard me. He didn't hear me. So that's why I did that. And then he looked, and you could tell he didn't like that. But he floated. He kind of made the ship slide.
Did a sideways movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he did, I looked out, and it was all elephant grass. And I said, "Okay, here." And so he wouldn't go too low, so he stopped. And so I jumped off things higher than that as a kid.
Sure.
And at jump school, of course, you did a PLS.
But not with all that weight on your back.
No, not with that. No weapon, PRC 25 and all that crap. So I jumped out, and I had a specific place I was going to go. And the elephant grass was flat, from the blades.
Right.
Well,
from the prop wash.
Yeah, but you couldn't see was that it was on a slope. And on the way down, I hit my right ankle, buckled, and broke the talus bone and pulled ligaments and tendons out from all the way up to my knee. And it knocked me out for, 10 seconds, 5 seconds.
Oh, man.
And when I come to, I was worried about how close are the enemy to me. And when I opened my eyes, then the first thing I saw was Bobby. And then I saw Gene. And they immediately came back. The Covey told the second helicopter to go back in and pick up. So what really, really angered me the most was, the second part of your team doesn't have a communication, which was not a very smart thing at those days. But they didn't have a PRC 25. They didn't have any way to communicate with Covey well, they didn't. I did. The 1-0 was responsible for that.
Right.
So they dropped a basket down, and Gene and Bobby helped me load on the damn thing, and I was really, really angry. So they pulled us up, took us back to NKP. And once we got back to NKP, we had to wait there a couple of days because when I got on the helicopter, my ankle looked like a bowling ball. They had to take a knife and cut my boot off.
Oh.
So we get back, and then they send me over to the Da Nang Hospital, where.
And they got to the second part of the team out okay?
Yes, the second part of the team.
Under enemy fire.
Under enemy fire. Very light enemy. Small weapons fire. So they got out fine. They got me out fine. And when we get to Da Nang, well, they take me to the hospital, and that was the end of my SOG career. And I could have easily been court-martialed for the things that I called the doctor and told him, send me back to my compound. The guys would come and pick me up, and I would recuperate there. He said, "No." He said, "This is going to be a year recuperation for you." I said, "No, it won't." And he said, "You don't know me." I said, "It's not going to be like that." And so I ended up in Camp OG, Japan. I'm there for a couple months, and after a while, I'm ambulatory, not too long, and going to therapy all the time.
And you had torn a tendon?
Tore tendon.
Oh, my God.
And pulled the ligament, detached a little bit from my... So... you know, bruises like that, and they're ugly. I mean, like I said, the swelling, everything's ugly.
Right.
Your elbow. So when you look at it, it looks really bad. And it wasn't as bad as, you know, for me it wasn't as bad. So long story short, from there, they medevaced me back to the States. And they sent me to, in fact, here in Texas, they sent me to they have a helicopter school. Used to have a helicopter school here. Let me think. Fort Walters. And then from there, they sent me back to Bragg.
Is that right?
So from Bragg, they sent me to the 82nd. And I said, no, that's not going to work. And so they didn't want to let me go.
So by now, how's your leg working after that?
Good enough. It was working fine. And I wouldn't tell anybody anyway.
So that injury occurred before August 23rd, 68?
No, it occurred in February of 69.
February, okay.
No,
so it's after the attack on the camp.
March 69.
March, okay.
Yeah. So in all my efforts, I had a hard time. I went over, and Command Sergeant Major Leal was the Command Sergeant Major of SF. And I went over to see him. Great guy. I mean, he was the best. He said, "You're SF, you're coming back over here, and I'm going to make sure you get over here." Well, he had a hard time. 82nd needed troops, and they wanted experienced troops, and they had a hard time letting me go. And I called my dad, and I said, "Pop," call the congressman, a friend of my dad's. They call him. Next thing I know, the commanding general of the 82nd had me before him, and he was...
Really?
Yes. Truthfully, he said, "Why do you go through channels?" I said, "You want to see the stack of paperwork I put in? You talk to your battalion commanders." And so, long story short, he said, "Well, we're going to miss your soldier of your quality, but I understand you signed up for SF, and that's where you belong. And I'll take care of the other part myself." So they had orders for me cut that day, and I was on my way back over to see Sergeant Major Lil. And we'll see him. He said, "You're signed to Charlie Company, the 7th. So I was signed to...
Welcome to 7th Group.
Right, C-235. And that's where I spent the rest of my time.
Did you spend any time in South America or Panama?
Not at that time. Things like that occurred after the military. So...
Well, let's talk about the rest of your time in SF and then move to the next phase of your career there, sir.
Well, SF was the best part of my life at that time. I mean,
for a lot of us.
You know, and it for 2 years, it just haunted me every day, go back. Not to mention the friends calling me and say, you know, "What are you doing? You need to get back over here." And I almost dropped everything so many times and to head to Fort Bragg. I never got around to it. So anyway, I became a full-fledged civilian. And
so what's the time frame here?
This was in 71.
You come back to Oklahoma or what?
Well, I went to Tulsa and got a job with a clothing manufacturer to be a sales rep. And I would travel the territory. So I would have to move to Dallas, and it would be my base headquarters out of the apparel mart here. So I came over to Dallas, and once I got acclimated to the city, I didn't want to go any other place. I mean, Dallas was a great place to live. The people were great, and there was just a whole new phase of my life. You can't compare phases. I can't compare phases between what I'd been through. And I, beginning another phase, people ask me, "What did you do?" And
right.
I told everybody, they say, "What branch of service were you?" I'd say the Army. "Well, what'd you do?" And I said, "I was a cook." And that was my story from then on. I never told anybody the truth.
Yeah, because we couldn't.
No, there was nothing to say because, you know, once you say, "Well, I was in SF," everybody wants to ask you a million questions. So I was advised on the way out, signing the agreement,
Right.
as you know, that I would never divulge anything. So I never did. And I never told anybody anything for many years. I still haven't. The only thing I ever talked about any part of my missions with you, SF guys, the only people I'm at home with.
Or at the reunion.
Or at the reunion.
For Special Operations Association, indeed.
You can't beat that. It took me forever. Clyde Jason's here, sent me paperwork and begged me to come. And finally, Gene talked me into it, and I went and joined.
Indeed.
And got to see Bill Werther and everybody.
So to play the tape back a little bit, I assume that if you weren't there for the night of August 23rd, your team was either at a launch site or in the target then, because you were there during that period of time.
I was gone. I actually didn't arrive in the compound to the day, 2 or 3 days after that.
No kidding.
The compound was a mess.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I didn't even know what happened.
So just for our listeners, this August 23rd, 68 is when the camp got hit by a sapper attack. They planned it a year. 16 Green Beret KIAs that night. That's still the most historic loss of life in the SF community since during this history.
One look at that camp a week later, you can still see the remnants of the disaster. It was in your mind. You replay that in your mind. You visualize how it happened, what happened. You hear all these stories, and it's like, God, why did they get me here a week earlier so I could have helped? But then also I say, damn, I'm glad I wasn't here for that. So
absolutely. Well, I had to go back. I was just curious about that little footnote in time because FOB4 was a big deal for all of us at the time.
FOB4
I was at FOB1, heard about it. It was scary enough. I was glad I wasn't there. That's a good one to miss in terms of surviving. And then, so you're selling apparel?
Well, I was starting that, and then I came upon another venture that I was helping somebody with, and just so happens, coming from an Italian family, my grandparents made wine, and I met this Italian guy. He was we became very good friends, and from there I got involved in the wine business and stayed in it for 30 years.
So is that what took you to South America?
Nope. That's just another story altogether that we'll hold for another date.
Oh no.
And, after being away from everybody for a long time,
sure, I
never stayed connected to anybody. And until Gene one day called me out of the blue and he said, "Are you Tony Bandiera that was blah, blah, blah?" I said, "Yeah, who wants to know?" He said, "Tony, this is Gene Pugh."
Well, your first face you saw when you woke up.
Yep. So I was really quite surprised to hear from him. He said he lived in Dallas. And we got together and he got me into the association, Chapter 31. And then I saw the member list, and then Fred Zabatoski walks in, and I look over. I said, "That looks like Zabatoski to me." He said, "It is." So I went over.
Where was this?
Here in Dallas.
No kidding.
Fred lived here.
Yeah, because Fred Zabatoski earned the Medal of Honor 68 out of Pontoon.
No, exactly.
From Trenton, New Jersey, a fellow Trentonian.
Wow.
Yeah, we were like, I didn't know him in Trenton, but I met him afterwards, after the war. But he's a Trenton native.
Well,
so you met Fred.
Yeah, so Fred, and we sat down, we visited and talked about, some things back. He's one of the people you could talk to, as you know what I mean.
Sure. And had you talked to him? Did you know him beforehand?
No, I knew of him. We crossed
all knew
paths
who he was.
At one point.
Okay, sure.
And we talked about that, and we didn't even know that. So, Fred was one of my heroes.
Absolutely.
And he was very calm. And talking to Bill Werther, Bill told me that all the hell he went through when he went back to the 1st Special Forces Group, that, they had a MOH and they're parading him around like he's a new toy or something. And it was hard for Fred.
Yeah.
Fred, he didn't take it too well. But when he got out, he was pretty straight and a really good guy. And I remember he told me, he said, Tony, I'm going to have to go back to Bragg. And I asked him if it was related to the military. He said, no, I've got to go take care of my son. So he went back to Bragg to take care of his son.
Oh, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, he was one of our clear legends. That's absolutely, well.
No doubt. And Bob Howard, when I was, I don't know what it was between my third or fourth or whatever mission, then they sent a team, they sent R.T. Asman and another team to CCC. And they told me to check in for some things I needed over to the supply sergeant. So I went over there, and this E7 comes out, and he said, I'm Sergeant Howard. And I said, I'm Sergeant Bandiera. And he said, well, what do you need? I said, really, I don't know. I don't have a mission yet. And he said, well, you'll get one shortly. And when you do, let me know. And all the time I spent a week there, we didn't have a mission. So I wanted to strap hang with him. You know, he already had everything set up. So I didn't strap hang with him. But he was, he was anything but a Medal of Honor winner to me when you're just an average Joe and
sure.
a supply sergeant.
And that's where he was working when he earned the Medal of Honor. He was strapped hanging with the team.
Yeah, exactly.
He had gone out 2 or 3 other times, and he'd been put in for the Medal of Honor twice. The third time, he got it.
Yeah. He was an extraordinary person though, in his own right. He and Fred were 2 different opposite, one from Alabama and one from New Jersey.
Yeah, city slicker.
Yes, and but without doubt, 2 of the most focused combat veterans anybody could ever meet.
Oh yeah.
And on top of that, 2 wonderful gentlemen. You know, once all the ghosts and everything got out of their head, all the demons and devils that bothered them for so long, and they were great people.
Well, yeah, and with Bob Howard, there are guys that we've interviewed who said that when they were going through Ranger training, they had this guy that was 20 years older than them who outran them. He ran their young asses into the ground. That was Bob Howard as a Ranger trainer.
No, I believe it.
Oh, yeah.
He was a never, no-quit, 100% military guy.
Absolutely.
He was an incredible believer in Special Forces and all that went with it.
Sure.
Being a Ranger, everything was, whatever he did, he wanted to do everything 100%, like everybody normally does, the SF people do.
Sure.
Then Bob could somehow, he could find another way to get to the next notch. He could climb the next hill a little quicker and different than other people.
Absolutely. So looking back, was there 1 or 2 missions that stick out in your mind, your worst, other than breaking and have your tendons pulled, torn?
Well, getting flipped around and going through the jungle upside down from underneath a helicopter.
Being a human pinball.
Yeah. That was memorable. I'll never forget that.
And while under enemy fire.
And yeah, we were all under fire.
Absolutely.
And like I said, my biggest worry was the helicopter getting hit.
Sure.
But we got out of range.
Because how many times we had lost people that way?
You know, how many times have we had people go on their first mission and get hit at the LZ, turn around, get on the ship, and then get shot? You know, we have a member now that's in a wheelchair. He got shot right in the spine. Never had a chance to hit the ground. Oh, never had a chance to even fire his weapon. But when he jumped out, he took fire. He turned around, jumped back in, and got shot right in the back.
Wow.
I mean, how many weird things has happened in incidents like that? Insertions are the worst. Totally
Most dangerous time.
Most dangerous time. Normally an extraction can be equally as dangerous, but normally you can get your team out of trouble, get them to a safe place or a place that the helicopters can come pick you up and you can be extracted. And hopefully not by ropes, but a normal way.
Sure.
But no, there were just a few others.
Sure. Well, the guys like the Frenchman, he got pulled out. He had 13 missions, and every mission he was distracted on strings.
Do you know, he and I were in the same orders.
No.
Yes. He called me one day. He said, I hear you're going to go to your first SOA meeting. I said, yeah. I said, wow, news travels fast. He said, would you do me a favor? He said, I can't find my original orders, and I know that you were on my original orders.
No.
Yeah. And so I looked through all of my personal military things, and I happened to find the orders where Fred and I were on the same deployment.
No kidding.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Well, and then from there, you're in the wine business. You're a successful entrepreneur.
Well,
sir.
Now I'm just enjoying retirement. So,
is that right? Is that official?
Oh, of course, for a long time, for 3 years now.
3 years?
And I'm enjoying have a piece of property that's really super nice, and my wife and I wake up every morning and we see this magnificent view. In the evening, we see this magnificent sunset.
Indeed.
And we have, about 100 beautiful white-tailed deer and antelope and axis deer on the property. And they come and go as they please.
Indeed.
It's a good life.
Well, we're at that point, I think, here with your story. Is there anything further you'd like to add or conclude with, or any last thoughts about our comrades or yourself, or anything that comes to mind before we shut the mics off?
No, I just want to say to each person that I had the honor of serving with and being with at any point in time that I ran across some of the greatest people. For me, it never seemed like I was an instructor. It never seemed like I was a 1-0. I never felt that important about myself. I felt really incredibly honored to be around each one of these guys. Each one of these guys that were my peers. I just looked up to them. And I honestly couldn't tell anything other than that about any one of the individuals I've had the honor to serve with or be around. I was grateful to be there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Grateful to be here.
Indeed. Well, we want to thank all the men and women in our armed services who have fought and bled for our country. We also thank the Border Patrol, law enforcement, first responders, EMT, corrections officers. And I guess the Border Patrol is really under the gun these days, even in a state here in Texas.
Pretty serious.
Absolutely. And as always, we thank Jocko Willink for sponsoring the SOG podcast interviews and for our production and flight costs. And we also want to thank the men and the women who served in the years past, like a good friend, Tony Bandiera. We thank you for that service. And we also have to remember and salute the men and women who have not returned from Southeast Asia.
Amen.
And including that, today we have 1,579 MIAs from the Vietnam War in Southeast Asia, 50 of which are Green Berets that died in the Secret War, and with 83 aviators who died supporting us. So we always salute them, and God bless America.
God bless America.